Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, a new season is upon the Herrmann family of the Royal Lipizzan Stallions. After losing their matriarch last March, the show must go on. See how the youngest generation is breaking family records.
Sydney's the youngest Herrmann ever to be starting this maneuver.
And we hit the trails, touring a treasure, learning all about a unique watershed in Southwest Florida. Educators are working to curate a sense of belonging and a sense of place. Plus, we follow along with some waste wizards, how a group of Manatee County students and teachers are working hard to make a difference. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. It's a true story of survival. The Lipizzan Stallion is one of the most famous yet endangered breeds in the world. And the Herrmann family has owned and operated Herrmann's Royal Lipizzans in Mayaca City, Florida since 1962. During that time, they've trained and shown their horses in the classical European tradition. But last March, Gabrielle Herrmann passed away unexpectedly, and many worried about whether the family would continue the shows that they're known for. Well, we're happy to report the legacy lives on, and they're preparing for a new season and celebrating 60 years in this small Florida town.
This is Achilles. Achilles was Mom's horse, and now it's gone to her. But he's actually a half Andalusian that we have. He's half Lipizzan, half Andalusian. And this is Sydney. This is my daughter. She's 12, and she's the 6th generation of Herrmann that is now riding. So it's definitely been in the family for a long time. We are Herrmann's Royal Lipizzans. That's what everybody knows us are. The family actually got Lipizzans back just after World War II. So this has been going on we're on 6 generations now that we've had all of these horses here. After the war, the family did a lot of stuff in Europe, but they weren't real happy being in Europe, so they fought very hard to get into this country. They actually ended up having to go through the Caribbean, and in that way, because back then you needed a sponsor, so they had to find somebody to bring them here. It was a very big deal when they got here. They've always been extremely patriotic. It was my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother, and their 9 children came here.
And horses.
And horses, oh yeah. So this is Max, and Max is a Lipizzan. No, you're not eating today. And this is Angela. Angela just started with us in September, was it that you started?
So. It's been not too long.
So, and she is going to be riding this year in the shows. She's been Max. I know you're excited. You wanna go. You gotta let her get on first, though. They are a rare breed. They are considered endangered, and they're really pushing conservation of this breed because they were almost destroyed in World War II.
During World War II, the horses were nearly exclusively owned by the Austrian government, but Russian forces seized those beautiful animals.
The Russians took them from the studs in Austria, had them, under captivity essentially, and General George Patton went to Charles Reed and said, can you bring these horses? I mean, if they had died during World War II, we wouldn't have Lipizzans anymore. So Colonel Charles Reed got all his guys together and they snuck out something like 300 Lipizzans. They covered them with mud because they're white horses. You'll see, how are you going to hide that? So they covered them up and they got them all out and brought them back. And it's just one of my favorite stories coming out of World War II, that even the animals they went and saved, because they would have been we wouldn't have them anymore. This is Mayaca. This is our alpha stallion right here. So, and we know that not because we turned them all loose, that didn't happen. But when the other horses, as you saw earlier, when he walked through, they all back way off when he comes out. So he is definitely, he's the man in charge right now. He is 22 years old this year because he was born in 2000. So he's just now coming into his own. Yeah, he is definitely, he knows he's a Lipizzan. I mean, he knows they come to see him. I know you're excited, aren't you? That's what all that head shaking is about. When they get that head going and they start bouncing around, they're happy. Usually only about 3 days a week we're practicing right now, which is a lot for us. And I would say maybe an hour a day. And it'll be on different horses. Each horse is only out for about 15 minutes. And then they go back in. And if they do it right the first time, we don't do it again and again and again. They have, once it's done, it's done. They get to go back in there, get groomed, get sprayed off if it's hot. I mean, not now, obviously, but when it's hot, they get sprayed off. They get to go in, and they also get turned out. A lot of people are concerned if they get to be turned out. They do get to go out and play. They are stallions, so they go out one at a time, but they do get their time out on these fields that we have here and in the paddocks. So it's not always working for them. We're restructuring now because my mother did pass in March, so it's been a process. It's been a learning curve. Yeah, she was a force to be reckoned with. I mean, she did a lot out here, and she did a lot for the community out here. So it wasn't just the family grieving, it was all of Mayaca City that was grieving when it happened. And horses mourn. They were in mourning for a good, I'd say 2 months, that they didn't want us to mess with. I mean, they'd come out and they would perform, but it wasn't with the same. They kept looking to see where she was. And they don't understand because my mother raised them all. She would walk through the barn every day and they would see her, and it was definitely an adjustment for them when she wasn't there anymore. And up. Good boy. I know. This is his favorite thing in the world to do. He would do this 1,000,000 times if we let him. I take no credit for training this horse at all. He started doing that in the pasture one day when I went to go get him. So I started bringing a carrot every day, and he figured it out immediately. The Lipizzan is one of the most late maturing horses in the world. They do not even start training them until they're 4, which a lot of people are used to seeing 2-year-olds being under saddle. Here we don't even get on them until they're 4 years old. That is also classical European training. They wait till they're older. But a Lipizzan can also live to see 40. So you have a much longer show period with them, much longer working period with them. It's pretty well understood with Lipizzans, they don't really hit their stride until they're in their mid to late teens. So a lot of the higher movements that we do, the jumps and the levades, they're usually older horses because it takes them that long to settle into their groove and their age. They need that maturity to be able to do these maneuvers. Ready? Up. Good boy. Yeah, I've had him since he was born. We don't do that with everybody. He is definitely my heart horse. I've had him for 20 years now, and he is the only one that I would ever try to do that with. This is how we start the levade under saddle. They've only been doing this maybe a couple months. Hold him. And Achilles.
Achilles. Up.
Up. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah, they're just starting this. And this is, Sydney's the youngest Herrmann ever to be starting this maneuver. And it's going really fast right now. What we're trying to teach him is just to get the idea to go up on command. And slow him down. All right. And Achilles one more time.
Achilles. Up.
And up. Good boy. It's, people see it. Good boy. That is a good boy. All right, go ahead and let him walk. It happens so fast. It takes months for the finished product that you see. And these are just the very first steps. They're just now getting started. The audience members, we have a lot of recurring people that have been coming for years. They were amazing, the show of appreciation that came out here after it all happened. And I mean, it's in my blood. I'm the 5th generation, my daughter's the 6th generation. So it just can't get away from it. But I think this would make her happy that keep going.
For show information or how to sponsor a retired stallion, you can go to their website at hermansroyallipizzans.com. Coming up next on Animal Outtakes, thousands of acres of natural Florida, how educators are working to foster the next generation of land stewards. That's next.
I need a vacation. Life is exhausting. I want to relax and enjoy some me time. Then Dante's Den is the perfect place for your vacay stay. Spacious air-conditioned dens, plenty of room to exercise and run, and a pool to swim in. Whether it be an overnight stay, short or long-term, Dante's Den is waiting for you. For more information, visit dantesden.org. Ah, my land shark in the water!
Welcome back. Now it's time to connect with nature. The Crew Land and Water Trust was established more than 20 years ago. It's a nonprofit organization that coordinates the land acquisition, management, and public use of the 60,000-acre Corkscrew Regional Ecosystem Watershed. And with development happening everywhere you turn in Southwest Florida, this valuable land has much to offer the future of our entire ecosystem.
So this is the Crew Marsh Trail trailhead, and this is our oldest trail, again opened in 1994. And before we expanded this trail system, it was really one trail in and out. Now we have several loops, but this area is the headwaters of the watershed here. So all of the water that moves across this landscape starts here in the form of rain. And this trailhead has been utilized for decades now for so many educational programs, and we have really impressive numbers of people who come out on their own to hike here as well. And this is really where it all started, is right here at the Marsh Trails.
Julie Motkowitz is the Education Coordinator for Crew Land and Water Trust. CREW is an acronym, and it stands for Corkscrew Regional Ecosystem Watershed. The CREW Trust is one of many partners with the project.
We are a private land and water trust, and we facilitate education and outreach on the land that is owned by the South Florida Water Management District. So that is the tan land on the map here. So that accounts for about 28,000 acres of the 60,000 acres of the CREW watershed. The other land of the CREW watershed is owned by other partners, including the Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary, who is managed and owned by the National Audubon Society.
Julie works with small teams along with a large group of volunteers. It's a group effort, to say the least.
The South Florida Water Management District, they again are the technical landowners. They do the land management, so they did a restoration project down at Flint Penn Strand in Bonita Springs, and they do the prescribed burning and all of those sorts of things. They facilitate our free campsites and things like that. And then our third partner is the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, which is FWC. And what they do in partnership with the land is they facilitate our hunts, our seasonal hunts, which is a really important part of our land management that helps take care of invasive animals and keep populations in check. And then they do a lot of wildlife research, and they also provide our law enforcement as well. So this is one spot I always like to highlight. This is our seasonal marsh. So this is a baby marsh compared to the larger 5,000 acre one we'll look at later. And it looks different depending on what time of the year you come. So right now it's starting to dry down now that we're entering our dry season. There's still quite a bit of water in here. During the dry season, most of it dries up with the exception of the very center, which is the deepest spot. So you can think of this as one big puddle, little indent, very shallow bowl. This land being a watershed means that the landscape interacts with water. There's water moving, mostly southwestward on this landscape, but because in Florida we don't have any valleys or mountains or major rivers in this area, it's hard to kind of conceptualize the movement of the water. So what happens, our elevation really, it's a matter of inches here. You know, it just changes in inches. So with those little changes, it still really does affect the water movement, just as a mountain and a valley would affect the water movement as well. So you could think of this as a little valley area. And during the wet season, this marsh will overflow, so it'll reach its capacity of water and spill out southward over the landscape. And as the water is moving, a lot of things are happening as well. So water is being filtered. So here in the marsh, these marshes are vital to water filtration. All of these plants are filtering out excess nutrients. And then, you know, during hurricanes, like during Hurricane Irma, this was super full of water. And if this was just one big concrete slab that, you know, they had developed, that water would be flooding those houses. And then also, as the water is moving southwestward, it is slowly seeping into the ground and recharging our aquifers. So all of those things are happening, which is really cool because, you know, we don't look out to the swamp or to the marsh and think about how delicious that, you know, drinking water looks, but this is where most of our drinking water comes from if you're local, which is just so important, which is one of the biggest takeaways we hope to impart on people that come here.
Along with the beautiful views of the marsh and the trails, you never know what kind of wildlife you could run into. Trail cameras have caught many interesting species in their natural environment.
Some notable things would be the Florida panther and a spotted skunk, which are pretty rare, have been sighted like right in this area actually not too long ago. We have a lot of really neat birds. Someone just spotted a red-headed woodpecker recently, which are really uncommon. And right before we get on the boardwalk, there's a really cool tree that is utilized by a black bear. It uses it to scratch its nails and mark its scent and get a back scratch. So one of the cool little spots on the way to our potash swamp. So this is the tree here. I think this is probably the angle that you can see most of it. And you can look at the height, how high they go up there too, and see how tall it might be. It's a great example of how many things are happening around us that we might not even notice if we don't look hard enough. If Crew hadn't been preserved when it was, it might not be here today. You know, it really took us right time, right place, right people kind of concoction that really created what it is today.
But their work is not done.
It has been such a successful project and continues to grow as well. So we just acquired a couple more acres, and other partners are also acquiring land. So the Crew project is growing again, which that success is because of that multi-partnership and the fact that we lean on so many other partners to work together. So.
According to the Trust, the protection of green spaces for wildlife habitat and human recreation is more important than ever.
And this will continue to be here forever. Public land is here for us, right? You know, this is a big part of our community, is just connecting with our community and getting them out here on the land that is here for them. And also realizing, you know, where our drinking water comes from, which is the Crew land, and being able just to connect with nature. And creating this Crew community. It's amazing sometimes, you know, if I like go to Walmart after work with my Crew shirt on, it's like someone random is like, oh, I love Crew, you know, our community is so wide, the people who utilize the land. And between just like human camaraderie, it's just a space that allows us to come out and enjoy nature, which is really important for our mental health and just our beings as humans.
And just maybe, taking a walk and opening your eyes to what surrounds you is all it will take to motivate land stewards for many generations to come.
I always think of the students and even college students and even adults who say they've never spent much time out in nature before. So the bare minimum to connect with people and connect them with the land, again, that's available for them, showing them that, you know, it's a place where we belong too. We don't, you know, spending so much time in urban areas, that's become such a norm in our human lives, but this place and spending time in these sorts of places is very important. So at the very least, connecting people with the land, making them feel comfortable out here, and curating that sense of belonging and sense of place is really important. People who just care and can appreciate nature is our goal.
For more information on this project or how you can visit one of the trails, go to crewtrust.org. Coming up next on Animal Outtakes, these kids are hard at work, learning some life lessons along the way. They call themselves waste wizards. They're first graders from Braden River Elementary School in Manatee County, and they are working hard to make a difference for others in our environment. Let's take a look.
Well, I'm out here and I'm picking up garbage off the beach with my family. And it was something that I think was like announced at my school that there was going to be some people doing. And my mom and dad, okay, so we're doing it. They were like, okay, we're doing this.
Picking up trash. Because it's not really good for the earth, and that usually the trash stays in there for 450 years.
We're out here picking up trash on the Palmasola Causeway Beach. We're doing it as part of our PBL unit, which is a project-based learning about waste and ways we can reduce our waste. So we've been working in the classroom, reading articles and books about it, and then we've been trying to do more hands-on activities in the classroom as well. And then we brought it out to real life event outside and picking up the trash on the beach and seeing what we leave behind.
Yeah, I found a soda can. Some paper towels, and like a spoon. Half a spoon though, it was only half.
I found some of the like butt things, and
If it was a plastic bag and there was something that animal liked to eat that looked like a plastic bag, turtles think plastic bags are jellyfish and they go and eat it up. And once they eat it up, they choke.
It's one thing to read about it and talk about it and see pictures, but to actually experience it in real life, it has a bigger impact on students, so they can really make a difference in their life and the way they interact with the environment, so they can make changes in their own ways. I already know that I have students that are talking about, thank you for letting us recycle different things, like in our classroom we're recycling, at home they're recycling, they're finding different uses for things. One of the big changes even within our classroom is just not using the same, like using a water bottle, a plastic water bottle. We've been using reusable ones, so that way we can make even a small dent with that.
well, usually they take a little bit longer if they're probably plastic bottles. They probably take a little bit longer if they're plastic bottles.
I think it's all about making connections and really building that rapport with families and with kids and with teachers, and being able to experience something in a positive way, so that way we can really make a difference in the way kids feel about school and about things in their own community.
I helped the earth.
How does that make you feel?
Happy.
Our environment can't have a lot of trash on the ground, and it's not good. So we need to help our earth so we can stay safe on it.
The students collected 8 full bags of trash, and many said they couldn't wait to do it again. Stay with us. There's much more Animal Outtakes coming up next. We hope you've had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. We'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some engaging encounters. Until then, thanks for watching.
We like to say Aragorn doesn't have handlers, he has staff. Because if you ever want to know if they know they're a Lipizzan, he knows he's royalty. That one there.
Bye.